Well, here we go.
Is it unmuted?
No, we're not muted. We're live. We're unmuted. See you can even hear the delay here, which is just absolutely horrible. There's a rookie mistake for you.
Oh, super rookie, man.
Well, there you go. We get too many devices in here.
There's a lot of devices.
Technology. Friends, thank you for joining us. This is the first official How We See It live from the Boogie Street studio. Rocco Cozza, my esteemed friend and colleague here, coming at you from Moon Township, and it's a carryover of our radio program with a little more freedom. We were just talking about that, to do what we want to do and say what we want to say, and hopefully not cause too much of a ruckus.
It's America, man. Freedom is great.
That is. And Rocco just, if Rocco is handcuffed verbally, it's never a good thing. He's an attorney, for
Listen, man, sake. 30 weeks. 30 weeks I went without swearing. That's 60 hours.
It's impressive.
Of live radio where I didn't say a curse word. So,
yes, indeed.
I'm patting myself in the back for that one.
Well, for those who have gave us the good and the bad feedback from last week on episode 0, believe me, I appreciate it. Yes. I appreciate all the feedback, good or bad, because we were able to make some changes and so forth in what we're doing, and get the audio and the video correct. And I can't believe it's a miracle of technology, but we're broadcasting live.
Yeah.
From the Boogie Street studio. On tap this week is something that's just near and dear to my heart, and Rocco and I might slug it out on a few things here. We're going to talk about the dreaded technology, and I want to talk about technology and how it relates to our communication and our relationships, both personal and business. And I guess you could throw social in there too, but I lump that in with personal.
Let's get deep.
Yeah, let's get deep. So, I know you so well. I know that you have a lot of opinions on this. But if I just open up, what do you think, if you had to make a blanket statement, what do you think the state of human communication is? Or let's just say in America in 2023, where are we right now in terms of being able to communicate with each other, whether it's business, personal, just communication in general? Are we better than prior decades? Are we sliding off into obscurity, giving away to technology? Where are we now?
It's dog shit is where it is. So this is a very large question that could be answered in a multitude of ways.
Lawyer speak.
It is. That's called
lawyer
buying
speak.
Myself time to decide where I want to go with this. So look, I think communication, and I posted a video earlier today on Facebook. It's a lost art. People don't know how to communicate like we once were able to. Technology has made it. Technology is a wonderful thing, right? It has changed the world for the better in most instances. It has taken away a lot of people's ability to communicate, because what it does is the really good communicators now stand out, like above and beyond all others, because people don't understand how to actually communicate. Like, not even verbally, but non-verbally. Like, the mannerisms are gone. Like, it's just because everything's instantaneous right now. So people use technology just to get their point across. Like, that's not communication. Communication is understanding your voice, understanding the tone, the pitch, where you're looking, how your body's positioned. That's part of communication. That's a lost art. But if you know how to do it well, in my opinion, you're head and shoulders above your competition in business.
Yeah. Why do you think it's fallen off a hill, though? Do you think it's solely technology related?
I think it's partially technology related. I think people have become lazy. I think there's a people think technology makes life easier, and it does in certain respects, but it also makes people lazy because they rely on it too much. I mean, look, I can think back to like years ago, a friend of mine, I'm not going to say his name because if he's listening, he would know who it is. But we used to always say we
like a puzzle. He
was the worst person at talking to girls face to face, but behind a phone, this dude was Casanova. Like, he could talk to any girl and make them fall in love with him over text or email, but face to face, he was like a scared puppy. So he used technology to his advantage up to a certain point. Then he just shit the bed when you have to meet a person face to face. Technology's made people, one is giving people confidence behind a screen. So they have this unrealistic sense of confidence behind the screen. Then they don't know how to engage in the actual real world. That's at least from my perspective. Other people may have different perspectives. That's how I view it.
Now, is this the last 10 years, for your experience?
I think
or
since
going back
social
last
media
20?
started. I think
so
social
last 10-ish,
yeah, I would say
years.
yes. I think social media is what did a lot. A lot of the downfall came from social media when it comes to communication itself.
When you say lazy,
Mhm.
lazy in terms procedurally lazy, or do you think we've also become lazy in language and even
Both.
understanding how to effectively use the language we have in traditional ways?
Yeah, I mean both. Procedurally, absolutely. It's a great way. It's a great way to put it. Procedurally, we become lazy. Like LOL, laughing out. Like people abbreviate everything now, and that's also comes down to the actual language we choose, right?
It's hieroglyphics.
Yes, yeah,
Hey, and that's caveman time.
yes, yes. It is. People not using punctuation or
Ooh, ouch.
just run-on sentences or all capitals. Like people don't understand communication. That's what's so frustrating. I mean, I deal with it in business.
So how did it become almost acceptable in a lot of American business now? Is it because that's the reality?
It's become the
everybody's
majority.
doing
Yes,
it.
that's why it's become the majority, in my opinion. Because it's like I'm the type of person, if someone sends me a text message where I have to scroll, I'm like, dude, just fucking email me. Like, I don't want to. This is the wrong form for this. But I think it's become so like I'm the minority. Like that's the minority position in my opinion. Like most people are used to receiving and sending books over text message. If I get one, I'm like, can you just email me? So it's in my inbox. I know what I need to do with it. I may get 400 text messages a day. I'm not going to respond to them all. I'm not going to even see them all. But I believe I'm in the minority because it's just become accepted. Because brevity.
So let me ask you this about law. Like, what veracity does text messages have today from a legal standpoint? Have they now somewhat gotten to the same standard as an email in the eyes of the law?
I think, yeah, absolutely it can be. I mean, we can disclose text messages as part of litigation. You can introduce text messages as evidence to form a contract. I mean, they do. They have the same weight of an email, in my opinion.
Do you think eventually emails are going to blend with text into some other unnamed, because they're still separate formats.
Sure, yeah, absolutely.
And you would hope that formality is where emails lie. I would hope. And but I'm saying, do you think those two ultimately, through the cohesion of technology, is going to turn into one animal?
No, I think there'll always be separate platforms and separate ways to engage. I think the usage of them will become intertwined. I think people do that now. They look at emailing or text messaging as the same thing. There's a lot of people out there that, in my mind, it's very clear this should be sent via an email, but they send it via text because they're not distinguishing between the two. So I think the platforms, the actual technology, and the procedure of the two things will always be different, right? But I think people, conflate the two and just say I can use one or the other. Doesn't matter.
Does it matter?
Yeah, it matters. It matters to me. Yes, but again, like I believe I'm the minority.
Mm-hmm.
I'm the minority. I feel like because a lot of people just think, yeah, text me, email me, like it's fine. Doesn't matter.
About the erosion of grammar. I mean, there's no way that I can speak from a position of authority because my King's English has never been completely uniform. I've used all kinds of slang my entire life.
We all do.
Of course. But there are certain prepositions and certain types of language that is no longer used in most of modern society, especially written text society. It's just, those are just words. It's like you take a sentence and you eliminate like prepositions and things, and you scrunch the sentence together, and supposedly somehow we all still kind of get it.
I think. That just reminds me of the one episode of The Office where Kevin keeps using less and less words. He says, me see world. And they're like, are you saying you're going to go to Sea World or you're going to go see the world? Because he's talking about like he was talking about like hacking life and like how if I eliminate the words that don't matter, I can save myself time. They're like, well, no, this is taking way longer to understand this. But that's a perfect analogy of what's happening. There are some times where I'll get messages from people. I'm like, I don't know what this actually says because you're missing a bunch of words and commas and periods and colons and semicolons. Like I don't know what you're trying to say here, and that happens more frequently than you would probably imagine in business. Now, I'm not talking about just in personal. I'm talking about in business.
Yeah, I see it too.
Again, okay, so maybe people are voice texting, right? But even if I send a voice text, I will say blah 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 period, then start the next sentence.
Oh, I hope so.
But so many people, like I could probably pull up my phone right now and pull up 10 text messages where I got to go like this, and there's not one piece of punctuation in that entire 100-word sentence.
You know what's interesting is when the year 2000 broke, I was in internet business land doing my thing, and I saw emails grow, and then I started seeing this T9 texting on phones, which was very obtuse and difficult to do. And I'm like, oh God, that has got to be why would someone take the simplicity of just saying something and then revert into wanting to do something so difficult? And I still believe this while texting's become easier and so forth. I still don't understand why we've kind of reverted. Like we've gone back to the written word and almost have moved away from the spoken word. And you would think it would have gone the other way. Like from the spoken word, we would have had more enhanced, like real time, personal, intimate communication. But we've gone back to, we've kind of went in reverse.
Yeah. People are afraid to, I mean, I can't tell you how many people I know that say, I hate talking to people on the phone. Just send me a text.
Was it always like that? Maybe?
No, I don't think so. Now, look, I'm guilty of sending. So I'll communicate via text. I'm in the middle of something and I have like my iMessage up on my computer. And I'm like today I was in a CLE and I was communicating via text. I couldn't talk on the phone because I'm watching a continuing legal ed course, but I could text. Now, but I'm the type of person where I'd rather have the phone call. Because text, a 10-minute text conversation back and forth can be taken care of in a minute or less. So to me, it's like, let's just save ourselves the time. Pick up the phone and call me. I'll pick up the phone and call you. Let's sort this out and move on. Because if not, we're going to go back and forth over text. And then what happens is, you're in the middle of this conversation. Someone sends me a text. Then someone walks in my office. And I'm like, oh, shit, I forgot to respond to this text. So that conversation, it could have been 1 minute. Now it took 3 hours because I had a 45-minute gap because someone came in my office. I didn't get a chance to respond to that text message. Now that person on their side is thinking, what the hell? Is he pissed? What's going on? Why hasn't he responded? You've been in those situations where you're in the middle of a heated conversation and then it just stops.
Well, because you're not there. It's
Correct.
not so the idea of real-time communication is not a text message exchange. You may be texting someone and you anticipate like a 30-second response.
Yeah, yes.
Essentially, it's not real time. It's not like you're on the phone or even on a video call with them. On a video call, you're staring at them.
Yes.
And if they go to do something else, like go get a ham sandwich, you see it, right? Or if you're talking on the phone and it goes silent, there's a problem.
Correct. Yes.
So I don't see how the written form of text communication is really a better way to communicate. Is it efficient? It can be.
Yes, I agree with that. It can be efficient, but I think from an intellectual and an emotional standpoint, a voice call or a video call is always head and shoulders above the rest. Because at least you can hear a person's voice, you can understand the emotion in their voice. On a video call, you can see their face, you can read them a little bit. So if I say I'm happy over a text message, like you may just think I'm happy, but if you hear me say it like that, I'm full of shit. But you can't make that out from actual written word, right? There's a voice inflection and a tonality, and a pitch, the nuances to language that actually tell you the intention of the words.
The beauty of the human experience of communication, the beauty of language in general.
Absolutely
and again, this isn't the first time I've said this. We are taking the beauty of physical communication and going in reverse. We're actually running away from communication. I understand wanting it on our own terms. That's great.
Yeah.
But
communication is a two-way street. You can't just be on your terms. It's got to be on our terms. If we're going to have a discussion, it's not just on your terms. It's got to be on our terms, or it's not going to be a fruitful discussion, in my opinion.
So is this a generational thing now? Like, are kids coming in 2023, are kids, young adults coming out of college now, with a different view of the way the world communicates.
Yeah.
Certainly, I think emails have been de-emphasized. I'm not saying it's a good thing,
Yeah.
but it seems like emailing has been de-emphasized. Texting has been elevated, even in business.
Yeah, but I'll tell you, I mean, your son's, my son's age, right? He'll respond faster to a Snapchat or an Instagram message than he will to a text message.
Isn't it all kind of the same thing?
No, I mean, think about it. Text messaging is phone number to phone number, right?
Okay.
Snapchat is through a social media platform. It's a social media messaging platform. So I would always joke that he would never respond to a text message, but if I send him a Snapchat message or an Instagram message, he responds a lot faster.
So let's talk about that. So whether it's Facebook or Snapchat or Instagram or Twitter, they all have messaging platforms, which operate kind of similar to traditional phone number texting. So are they all interchangeable? Because they seem to all being used that way. And I guess there's an app that kind of consolidates all of them now, or no, I'm not consolidates them, but there is one that's trying to become popular to kind of replace the rest. I think it's WhatsApp. Yeah, it's kind of universal to go everywhere.
It's a Facebook company, right? So it was like a text messaging. It started, I believe, as like a text messaging and a phone app to use for international transaction. But then Facebook bought them, and it's connected to your Instagram, connected to your Facebook, so you can use it to communicate that way as well.
Because I get real estate clients via email, text, video call. I get Facebook Messenger, Instagram Messenger. I mean, that's having all those different platforms is confusing. Yeah, there's nothing easy about that. There should be a way to have them consolidated. So again, I think $1 million
idea, man. You just came up with it.
I'm the last guy to bring that to market, but I don't. That was my next question to you: was are we managing the platforms that we do have? Are we trying to manage the platforms we do have, or use them at the appropriate time, based upon the type of conversation we're having? Like that. That's where I think that, as each generation goes by, as things change and evolve, the traditional methods of communication are kind of slowly going away.
Yeah, they're getting replaced. So I think that's a good question, right? So we do have all these various forms of communication. I think it is our job to learn to manage those. Like, I kind of know the platforms I use, right? I text for certain reasons. Facebook Messenger, I don't really use that unless people reach out to me through there that want to connect, like, for business, which is cool. So I have it. Instagram is one of those things where, I'll share stuff and communicate with some friends over Instagram because it's just, we're on the platform. We share things with one another. But that's really it. And then email was business. Like, I hate doing anything business wise that's important over, like, having quick communications with clients, no problem with, or, people in business, just to get them information quickly. But if it's something that actually takes analysis, or for me to review and provide some sort of advice or consultation, I wanted an email. Because then it's in my inbox. I have a process I go through where I put that when I do it. Like, I may have 15 text messages just in this 18 minutes we've been live right now. My phone's buzzed a few times. So last week I had 47 when we were done. So it's a method that the communication can get lost very quickly. That's why I tell clients, like, you can text me, no problem, but if you want me to respond the quickest, email me.
I know college students understand the concept of email, and there's a appropriateness for that, because I guess when they communicate with their teachers,
they have to
generally using that, and not texting.
Yeah, they're definitely
depending on the relationship, I guess. So they're seeing it.
Yeah.
And I'm probably still guessing that most organizations, they issue their employees emails, and that's where the communication comes.
Yep.
And I'm not in there, so I don't know how that looks, but I would guess that texting's probably somehow being incorporated there to some degree.
A lot of companies are using what's called Slack.
What is Slack?
So Slack is kind of it's hard to explain. So it can be used for a lot of different things, but it has an instant messaging feature. So, like, we always try and use different technology at the office, and it goes great for about a month, and then we all get lazy and just like, fuck it, let's just do the normal shit. But we tried it for a while, and it's basically, you can set up boards or groups, but it's instant messaging. So I can just instant message Matt or someone, or I can tag litigation group, and it'll go to all the people in the litigation group. And a lot of companies are using this now to communicate in the workplace. It's faster than email, faster than text messaging because it's on your computer,
You
but
can
it's
attach
instant.
PDFs
You can
and
do
Excel
you can
spreadsheets
do
and all
all
that
that
stuff.
stuff, but it's literally, and it keeps a record of all your communication. So it keeps track of the whole communication log. It's a great. I've looked into it. I played around with it. If we could truly, as a firm, utilize it correctly, I think it would be great for us. We just know we are our own worst enemy, and I'm not going to say we're going to do something I know we're not going to do. But a lot of companies are using it. It's a great tool, and that's kind of the method of communication within email is what most companies like tech forward companies. Email is external facing communication. Slack or instant messaging is internal communications. So if they're communicating within the company, they're using Slack or some sort of messaging platform. External, they're using email.
Wow. I can remember when it used to be called the internet, and then the companies would have an intranet.
Yeah.
It would be their own
Yeah,
network, their own
Yep.
pulse or messaging system within that.
Now it's Slack.
Slack. All right, 2020. I know you love that year. 2020 ushered in a lot of things, but one of them being the art of the video call. Zoom made a lot of money that year, and Skype and the rest of them. And that, for a lot of reasons, dominated the way that we communicated with our family, our friends, and certainly in business. That's how we got shit done.
Yeah.
So now in 2023, where do you think the video call business or the video call platform is today? Is it still exceptionally entrenched like it was in 2020? Has it dissipated a bit? Have we gone back to some kind of in-person, or do you think that was the linchpin that really ushered in video conferencing to stay?
Yeah, I think it's not going anywhere. I think we're back to in-person meeting, but I think so I hated video conferencing at first, right? Like I hated it. It was like, I want to be in person. What I like about video conferencing now is when I can't meet someone in person and they want to have a phone call, I can actually do a Zoom or a Teams meeting where I can see them, and you connect with the person differently, right?
Certainly.
Like I had a call today. I had actually a Zoom calling on one of the breaks at the CLE, which was, and I'd like to see the client and we can interact, and because you can see a person's face and I can kind of read what they're thinking.
I love it. Yeah, for sure.
Would I choose that over in person? No. Like I would always rather meet you in person, face to face. I'm in the room with you, we're connecting, but that over a phone call any day of the week. Yeah. I don't think it's going anywhere. I think people are so used to it now.
It's the next best thing.
Yeah, exactly. And people are working from home. They're working remotely now. A lot of companies now have let their employees work remote part of the time, and there's a way for them to still stay connected visually with one another.
Okay, so let's talk about the changing communications we've already discussed, and I want to talk and turn a little bit toward the changing social skills. Like, have social skills eroded? How are we becoming different kinds of people toward each other because of this technology?
Well, so let me answer this in two parts. So the first part, yes, do I think it's because of technology? Partially, but not fully. Okay. I think we have social graces have gone by the wayside. I think people have lost their social skills. They've lost the ability to interact with one another. Not everybody, but there's a large portion of the population that they don't even know how to look somebody in the eye. You walk past them on the street, they put their head down and look away. Like that interaction, because it's a fear-based society. I feel like we're living in this, we're constantly, there's never anything positive on the news, right? So we're constantly being fed with negative information or negativity. So I believe it wires our brain to be fear-based. So people are walking around that can't distract themselves from the noise or tune it out. They're letting it in. So they're living in a fear-based mode. So that takes away from social skills, right? When you're typically a positive person, upbeat, it's very easy for me to walk by someone and say, how you doing? Like smile at them, like thank you, hold the door open, look a person in the eye. If you're fear-based, you're like, what is that person's motive? Why are they looking at me like that?
You don't want to become engaged.
You don't want to engage with people. Like I love being engaged with people, but that social skill is gone, I think, for a large portion of society because we are so fear-based right now. It started really badly in 2020 and it hasn't gotten better.
Yeah, it's not a hard thing to see. If you just go to a grocery store and just really, if you pay attention, you look around and you just see where everybody is kind of in their own little world. and see how little communication, even like the nonverbal stuff, the eye contact,
Yeah.
the winking, the smiling, whatever, it just does not seem to be happening anymore. And that's a really, for me, it's a very sad thing, because I'm aware of it. I see it all the time.
Yeah, on our floor in our office, there's another company, and there's two people in particular that, they're always masked in the bathroom. It's like if you walk in the bathroom and they're in there, they like run out like they're afraid of something. And like I feel bad, because it's like I want to know what are they so afraid of? Like, why won't they engage and even say hi? Like the first time I ran into the one guy, he put himself in the corner until I was done. Like stood against the wall in the corner until I was done going to the bathroom and washing my hands. And then came out. Like he was in the back corner by the stalls, waited till I finished before he came out. I'm like, what? Like, do I have the bubonic plague? Like, I don't understand like what was going on. It's like part of me tries to rationalize that, but I have no fucking idea.
Yeah.
I'm like, what's in that? But that's a good analogy to a big part of society. People are living like that.
So, if we continue to separate ourselves with technology, making it more convenient to interact in a way that requires us not to be like physically present, I think about, it's a weird analogy, but I think about that one theory where we are living in inflation in the universe, and all the planets are just moving faster and faster away from each other.
Okay.
And at some point in time, we're going to, in time, in the future, these planets are going to move so far away from all available light that everything is just going to go dark. Everything, there's just be cold and barren. And I think we're kind of like moving slowly away from, more and more away from other humans, because of the crutch which these changing technologies have given us to be able to reach out at the bare minimum and just communicate at the bare minimum to get through my day. And I'm not saying all of us, but a lot of society is really, it's almost like, for lack of a better phrase, it's an introvert's wet dream, because literally society is now built in a way for isolation.
Yeah. I mean, I completely agree with that. And I think that's disheartening, because like you said, the human experience is to interact, to connect, to engage, to feel and show love to one another, to be kind to one another, to actually show, empathy and emotion towards your other humans. And I think if more of us engaged in that, we could make a huge shift in this world. But you're right, like people, it is an introvert's wet dream, because it really is. Like they don't have to interact with people, and they can still get interaction through social media without interacting. They can still feel part of a group without actually being part of a group.
Let me throw something on you. So, when 96, 97, 98 came out, and eBay became this like marketplace where whether it's businesses or individuals can get on there and do commerce with very little, almost no interaction with other humans. All the transaction can be taken place visually with photographs, and through communications back and forth, whether it's messaging on the app or on the website or through email, right? It was like the one thing in our society, commerce, the buying and selling of goods and services, was transported into this new medium, which was in one turn fantastic, because it broke down the fears of sales.
Sure.
Okay. And so it opened the idea of commerce up to so many more people.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it took away the requirement of interpersonal relationships to do commerce. So I think it kind of started in the 90s. And so you see the benefits of it from a economic standpoint for the country and for our citizens, but you also see a breakdown in, I don't know, just maybe we were still communicating and that was good. It was just different. I don't know, but the lack of personal communication in commerce started then, and I don't think we've ever regained it. I mean, you still have a mall and you still have places where you can go and buy an item and look somebody in the eye, but even the malls are closing, Rocco. The malls are going away. We keep moving toward isolation. That's my theory. I just think, it sounds harsh, but it looks to me, because of this technology, we're moving toward isolation.
Well, yes, and I don't think it's necessarily all because of technology. I think it's because the media as well. The media has created divide in this country and created isolation by, telling people, what they should believe or what team they should be on. And if you're not part of that team, you need to avoid those people because, so think about what the media has done. It's created these castes in society or these groups in society where if you belong to this, you should not be interacting with these people because if you do, you don't really belong to this group. So it's starting to make people pick their isolation. And it's like, we're all human beings. Like, I don't give a shit what you believe. You know, as long as you don't try and force your beliefs on me, live your life. I'll have mine. I'm cool. We can interact. I'll engage with you. I don't give a shit. Like I couldn't care less about whether you believe one thing or the other. We're all human beings when it comes down to it. And we all have to learn to live together on this planet, in this country, in this city, in this town, and interact in a good
that's
and
how it
decent
was in
way.
decades prior.
But that's how we need to get back to. But the media has created so much tension in society that people, the easiest path, the path of least resistance is isolation.
Because we have become intellectually and emotionally lazy.
Correct. Absolutely. We've said that 1,000 times. Yes.
We have ourselves to blame here. Yes. The inputs are all there for us to ingest. I mean, there's cell phones that will give us inputs all day.
Yes.
We used to go to the internet when it was young intentionally to acquire something. Now we have all these inputs that just barrage us all day. I get it. But we still have a constitution, an internal constitution. We just chose not to really exercise it.
No, again, I think intellectual and emotional laziness is a great way of putting it because, I mean, think about people that haven't read a book in 10 years. Like, how are you learning new things? Like,
you can even put them on tape now. You can download a book digitally to listen to it.
And think about how fast information is created now at a rate that is exponentially faster than it was 10 years ago. So if you're not learning new things, you are dying faster than ever before, intellectually dying. That's what I believe. If 20 years ago, okay, we'll say the rate of information was, maybe 5 miles per hour. So, okay, if you keep up with it, cool. If you don't, you're not falling that far behind. It's like 500 miles per hour now. So you've got to be increasing the inputs, intellectual inputs, at such an exponential rate now to even keep up with the rate of the information creation. If you're not doing that, think about how far you're falling behind. Then you take AI coming in, like this world's going to go to shit soon if we don't fix things.
So let's talk about AI.
If
you, for those that don't really pay attention to society too detailed wise, you'll hear AI and you'll hear a lot of negativity right now toward it because there are those that extol the virtue, but there's a lot more, it seems, that are saying it's a doomsday device. I don't know. I'm just saying what I hear. But we all kind of got, in some way, got a taste of quote unquote AI in a very elemental form when 25 years ago, there was automated virtual attendants, which we learned to hate.
Yeah.
Right? Because they were so impersonal and it was so easily identifiable that you were talking to a computer.
Yeah.
But as AI has evolved and technology gets better and more real, we're going to have a blending at some point in time of computer and human. I mean, even now, these virtual assistants, they're so damn good, you really sometimes can't tell whether you're talking to a bot or a human.
Well, right. I mean, and and AI has become so powerful. I mean, you can basically create deep fakes of yourself on video using a few websites in maybe an hour of your time, which is scary. Like,
so unauthentic, though.
Yeah, but some people can't tell the difference.
I know.
Like, think about the power.
I know.
But think. Let's talk about a doomsday scenario. Think about if someone created a very good deep fake video of President Biden saying he's going to war with China, and somehow it gets released and put on the news somewhere. And what happens? Like, how do we know? Like, what if that, what would happen in that situation? We have no idea. That's the power of AI right now.
Right.
And it's scary. Like, even just messing around with Chat GPT.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's crazy the things it can do if you really play around with it. Like it's insane. And when you learn how to utilize it, like it is so powerful, and it is scary to me. I'm not one of those doomsdayers where I think it's going to take over jobs and it's going to. I think if you're afraid of that, you're not good at what you do.
Mm-hmm.
I think if you're confident in your ability, you'll use AI as a tool to make you even better.
100%.
But I think it's so powerful, and there's so much that can be done.
Well, it also can be used for harm. It can be used for
Sure.
ill will.
Yeah.
And that, I think, is like you just mentioned, a deep fake video of a world leader. Now, I would hope we're sophisticated enough that we're going to get some mechanisms in place to verify this. But the thing is, the technology is so outstanding, but so astounding that the average person, me included, has no flipping idea the inner workings of how it's actually done and created. 99.9% of all humans walking the planet have no clue. So it's that small sliver of people that understand how it's created and manipulated. And I wouldn't even go into manipulation, but actually how it's created. That we're all kind of purely just consumer users of the technology. That's the only level of understanding most of us kind of know. And that in turn is what's really scary.
But if you learn a little bit about how to utilize it, it is a tool that can be used for a lot of good.
But we'll never know enough in our lifetime to counteract the ill will eventually.
Yeah, you're probably right. I mean,
how to turn it off. I mean, we can unplug electrical cord to the computer, but that's oversimplification. But we can't understand the programming. The average person doesn't understand the programming.
No, I would have no idea. I just know it does cool stuff. When I tell it to do things, it's like, huh. Like I went in there and said, with ChatGPT, I said, okay, act as a high-level executive assistant and ask me questions you would need to understand about me to be my executive assistant. I am managing partner of a business law firm that works between 10 to 12 hours a day. This thing spit out questions that I didn't even know that could be asked. I'm like, this was like, it says, okay, before I tell you tasks I can do, tell me these things about yourself. Like, what time do you wake up? When do you have the most energy? What do you typically eat in a day? When are you most creative? Like all these things, like crazy. Like if I answer these questions, it would tell me the tasks it could help me with. Like just by asking the certain questions a certain way. Like that's how powerful this technology is. I mean, if you learn to use it, I mean, it can enhance your career exponentially, in my opinion.
So is it like in sales? It can write proposals. It can help you craft a proposal or help you look at an issue in a different way. But it directly doesn't seem at this point of its infancy to be able to solve problems outside of a math problem that a calculator could do. It still is reliant upon the available information that is out in the ether that it can pull from and then calculate. Right? Is that correct? Am I describing that correctly?
It only has access to information. I think I just read today. It was like September of 2021 or 2022. Like it only has that access to that data up to that point. But it can take all that information and solve a problem you give it. Like if you ask it a question, like if it's within its parameters, like it'll.
And this parameters we assume are going to continue to get more broad as
like you can't provide financial advice. If you say, hey, give me a stock pick that's high return, low risk, like we can't provide financial advice. That's not our parameters. But if you say, hey, analyze these 10 stocks and tell me which one has the highest alpha, highest beta, and the best PEG ratio, it'll do that. You got to know how to ask the question to get the solution. Most people haven't done that much research to figure out how to ask the sophisticated questions.
So let me talk about technology and our relationships, how relationships have changed. Say from the 1990 on, the personal computer became proliferated in the 80s. It really was starting to grab a hold of our attention in the early 90s. And of course, the web 95, 96. And from there, it just went crazy. But how do we stave off losing our human intimacy? like with each other, like the nuances of not just communications, but understanding of each other. When we continually seem to have technologies that are putting up barriers to keep us isolated, but giving us the illusion of some kind of satisfying relationship, because that's what I see as I look broad picture looking in. It doesn't seem like our relationships are being quote unquote enhanced by technology. It seems like there's just more layers being put in front to either give us the illusion of an intimacy and of a friendship or a relationship, or maybe the solace of additional solitude for those who crave it.
Effort is what it takes. You've got to choose. You've got to make the decision to work at intimacy, work at building those relationships. Like, look, as I've gotten older, right, you realize certain friendships, are not as deep as they once were. But the ones that are deep, you put more work into. So I think that's part of, your circle constricts but deepens as you get older. I think as you get older and wiser, you understand the relationships that matter, right? Like, I've understood that now over my life.
Certainly.
The ones that matter and the ones I'll put more effort into. The other ones that are kind of layered with technology, those have almost become like sort of friends, acquaintances. My deep relationships, I make a conscious effort to put effort into developing those and having an intimate relationship with those people. That's a choice you have to make. I think we all have to make those choices, but it starts with auditing your circle. You have to audit those people and say, who do I want to put the effort into that I know I will get a return from? Because if you're not going to get a return, you're not going to keep doing it, right? So you've got to make sure the relationships are right. That's our job as human beings, to make that choice and to put forth that effort. We can't keep using technology as the excuse.
Are we at a point where when we look at the relationships we have, do we have to now define them as like, this is a real human relationship? This is a relationship I have with another human that is kind of virtual. Like, I'm never really in the same place with this person, but we communicate a lot and we get things done. And this bucket over here is that once in a while I connect with these people, but I'll never see them face to face. Are we required now to somehow cognitively separate and create these buckets in order to kind of prioritize?
I think it makes life a lot easier. Yeah, I don't think you have to actually label people, but I think right? Like, I know the people in my life that are the people I will always see, always put effort into. I know the people that are mostly virtual relationships that I connect with on social media, that, we communicate there, but I'm probably never going to run into them because we're in different circles. Like, and if I do run into them in real life, like, have a discussion, talk to them, pleasantries, it's not going to be that deep, right? Then there's the other people that I know that these are just people that have connected with me or follow me on social media. There's not going to be, because I don't know how to interact with them, because I don't know anything about them. If someone puts an effort into me, then I will always reciprocate the effort. But I know my circle of people that I put the most effort in towards. And I just kind of look at life that way now. That circle has gotten smaller. But those relationships, those are people I would go to bat for. And those are people that know me deeply and intimately, the good and the bad.
What about meetings for a second? So, you run an organization and you've also been in upper management. So you've conducted meetings, you've been parts of big meetings. When you look at the dynamics of a meeting of humans, whether let's just say 6 to 20 people in a room together, doing business, being creative, collaborating, the dynamic that goes on in that room, as opposed to the dynamic that would go on with a screen with those 12 people on it doing theoretically the same function. What is lost or what is gained in the difference between those two scenarios?
Oh, in person is way better. You gain so much more being in a room with people. One, there's a different energy, right? You feel the energy from people, right? Being online, you don't know. People are distracted. Who's on mute? Who's kids screaming in the background?
Who's wearing pants?
Who who turns off their videos so they can go to the bathroom? Like, there's a lot more distractions because think about it. It's hard to look at a screen and look at 12 people's eyes at the same time, right? When I'm in a room, I can scan the room very quickly and kind of move back and forth between people and engage with that person talking. You get that feeling of engagement. I would always pick an in-person group meeting over virtual any day of the week.
Yeah, I would too. But are we just because of our age, we have more points of reference? Like if a younger person that's in their mid 20s
Sure.
is running meetings for a company and they've had very few in person meetings because of the nature of their age and the era they grew
Yeah.
up in and the firm they work for,
Yeah.
the dynamic of that in person meeting, the value of that dynamic is probably lost on them.
Yeah, I mean, they definitely don't see it the same way we do. Like I've been in meetings with people that I know that have started their career virtually and are now kind of in-person meetings. Like you can see they're distracted by technology because they were always used to having technology in front of them, right? Like people that started their career during the pandemic, they were used to virtual meetings. Now, if they're in a meeting, they always have their computer or their phone in front of them. It's just a
Interesting.
natural habit. Where me, like, you'll never see my phone on a table in a meeting
Mhm.
unless there's something going on. I will let the person know, hey,
Right.
I'm waiting for a phone call, but it's always in my pocket.
Right.
The only time I have my computer up and open is if, hey, we're doing something on my computer that I need to show you or I need to pull something up. Other than that, it's just me and the person and maybe a notebook.
Hmm.
That's it. Like that's the dynamic. But people that have kind of come up in that, they conduct themselves completely. No, I'm not saying it's bad or good. It's just different. They rely on technology almost as their crutch. Like if they, it's hard for them to walk into a meeting with no technology. They don't know what to do, where to put their hands, what to say, when someone else is talking, where to look. Because you'll
It's
be in a
very
meeting,
odd.
but
Very
you'll be in a
odd.
meeting with people like that, and it's like if they're not talking, they're just kind of looking down at their computer or at their phone. Like they don't know how to look somebody and actually engage and listen and make that person feel like they're being heard. Like it's a different dynamic.
It is. There's a level of, I guess, for lack of a better phrase, there's a level of accountability
Mm-hmm.
when you attend a meeting
Yes.
on different levels.
Mm-hmm.
One accountability might be that you're required to be there.
Yeah.
The other might be that your attention
Mm-hmm.
is probably heightened because there's people looking at you.
It
The
should be.
speaker might be looking at you, right? So
Mm-hmm.
you need to be somewhat, at least you should be portraying that you're more vested
Mm-hmm.
in being there.
Yeah.
There's also, like you mentioned, there's a dynamic, there's a feeling there, there's a vibe that goes on,
Mm-hmm.
and that's an intangible. And it's I'd hate to see something like that lost,
Yeah.
especially in business in general.
Yeah, it's definitely, I don't want to say lost, but it's definitely decreased, I think, because again, if you look at people that were kind of got into their profession during the pandemic or spent, the last 3 years of their maybe 6 year career
Mm-hmm.
during the pandemic, it's a difficult shift for them.
No question.
Like I spent most of my career, not relying on technology. I had to interact with people, you had to walk in a room and be able to interact and engage and listen and know when to be spoken to or when to speak to someone or, there's just a certain etiquette. Like if I would never, if a meeting started at 1 o'clock, you would never see me walk in at 1 o'clock or
All
1:01.
right, of
I'm there
course.
10 minutes early, 15 minutes. But now it's just, it's natural for people to just show up when the meeting starts.
Is that more? Um, is that more about the casual nature of society in
Yes.
general, or is that the
Yes.
lack of actually personal decorum?
I think it's just the casual. And I don't think it says anything. I mean, and some people it could, they just don't give a shit. I just think because people have just been so casual, they don't know any better. And I always say, like, that's not for me to teach somebody. That's for them to learn on their own.
Mm-hmm.
And what's going to happen is people that are in, if I'm dealing with a client and they just show up late and don't give me a reason, well, that's going to dampen the relationship a little bit
Oh, certainly.
because it's just you're not showing me the level of respect that you want me to show you. Where I understand things happen. So let me know, like, hey, I'm running 5 minutes late. Just shoot me a message. Cool, no problem. I don't care. But if you just casually walk in and then don't apologize and just assume that's just okay, can't take you seriously. I'm just going to be honest. Like, I can't. Now, I have amazing clients. No one really does that, but I've been in situations in years in the past
Right.
where it has happened. And those are not good clients.
You think about a courtroom, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which is the arena of our law,
Yeah.
and how important decorum and
Yes.
also physical attendance
Mm-hmm.
and how all of that is so necessary for things to run correctly. A
Yeah.
jury trial,
Yeah.
like, you've got is it 12 or 9 in the
12.
jury? 12 people in a jury. You have a judge, you have bailiffs, you've got defense attorneys and prosecuting attorneys, and then you have the participants.
Yeah.
And sometimes you have an audience there. That whole thing, I don't have to tell you, that whole thing is a kaleidoscope of like emotion. And in any way you look at it, whether it's a civil or a criminal trial, there is emotion in that room.
Yeah.
And we can't say that emotion does not weigh into the proceedings.
No, it definitely
It absolutely does.
Yeah.
So if you were to take all of that away and put faces on a screen and labels, judge, jury, blank out their face or whatever you would do. I mean, could you see a courtroom operating that way?
You had to have seen the video during the pandemic of the lawyer it was a hearing on Zoom, and his background got changed to a cat. He was a cat. And he didn't know how to, he's an old guy, and he didn't know how to change it. He's like, I'm sorry, judge. I'm not a cat. I'm just trying to, I don't know how to, he was literally saying to the judge, I'm sorry, Your Honor. I'm actually not a cat. I just don't know how to change it. Someone fucked with the Zoom, and it literally turned his face into a cat. But that's the thing. But it takes something away. And I think, again, like, this is where people don't get when it comes to communication. In my opinion, nonverbal matters way more than the verbal. Like, how a person acts and interacts with others, how they carry themselves. Like, we all say we don't judge people, but we judge people instantaneously.
Right.
The moment you see a person, like, you're sizing. If I'm in a negotiation,
of course,
like, I'm sizing that person up.
100%.
Like, how they walk in the room. What time did they walk in the room? What are they wearing? How are they dressed? Do they take care of themselves? Are they healthy? Like,
are their teeth clean?
All of that, but these little things, it's how my mind calculates. It's how I calculate things. Of
course.
I'm sizing this person up. Okay, if they don't take care of themselves, okay, then they're not disciplined. Then I know in my mind, all I have to do is wear them down mentally, because eventually they're going to miss something.
Correct.
And that's just how I look at things. And it's
okay.
We got to understand that.
Okay, so you take everything you just said and you apply it to, let's say we project society 15 years from now, if we head in the same trend. A person coming out of college that has never really experienced much more than screens is going to not have a feel for any of that.
True.
I would venture to say right now that those coming out of college now, in some circumstances, that are going into work at firms and working in groups or teams or all that, where a portion of your time is spent with other humans, may have never learned those social cues. They may have to learn them on the job in their 20s, things that they weren't exposed to in their teens through their regular life. I mean, it's a different dynamic now. And we may be sending people out into the workforce that don't have good physical decorum, or even the ability to read physical cues. It's a dying art.
100%. Well, and my son starts working for us next week. We'll have a real live guinea pig.
Gabe's always the guinea pig.
In a couple of weeks, we'll be able to assess Gabe's performance. Is he able to hack it? And I have no doubt that he will.
I don't either.
But you're right. Like, that's the thing. Like, they don't. There's a certain level. But again, I mean, Gabe played sports. Like, he was involved in different things. He's the president of his fraternity.
Sure.
Like, he's very social. But yeah, there is a big problem, and that's a skill set that needs to be taught. Like, we need. I can't tell you. Like, I've had.
Or do we just learn that, Rocco, from like growing up without? Do we learn that from playing outside? Do we learn that from?
We did.
Used to, right?
Now they need to be taught that.
Okay.
And that's the thing. Like, that video I posted, I had a bunch of people actually message me that were like teachers that said, like, this is something I teach my kids. I tell them, and it's the fact that they have to tell kids about how to communicate, the art of communication, because we just observed it when we were growing up, right? Like, you had to get shit done and to have friends, you had to communicate, right? I didn't have social media to just go and friend people. I had to go outside and make friends.
Well, there was also a pecking order with the groups of kids you had. You found out where you were, and if you wanted to ascend that group, you had to maneuver.
That's exactly.
Or if you were uncomfortable, you found a way to cower. Lack of bad word, but found a way to just change your social status in that group. You learned how to do it.
that you learned how to navigate people. Like
100%,
growing
and
up, they don't.
groups.
Yes, and that is a lost art, unfortunately.
And it didn't make us more intelligent. It just, we did not have the same level of inputs,
No,
the same level of distractions,
no, it didn't.
and we didn't have people yelling at us on screens.
Right, and people. I mean,
Except Morton Downey Jr. He was yelling at us on Channel 9
but
on
here's
television.
the thing too. Here's the but here's the other thing though. Let's talk. Let's think about this for a bit. You know, when we were growing up, like we didn't get offended by shit. Like we just did what we wanted to do.
It was different.
It was different, and now it's like people get offended by everything. They have to think before they say anything. So kids haven't learned how to build thick skin and resilience.
Mhm.
Like that's something that's missing
Mhm.
because when you were a kid, if you did something stupid, you got picked on and made fun of until you learned not to do it again or change your behavior.
Mhm.
Now it's like you can't do that. You can't do that.
It's different now, and it's
I'm not saying it's right or wrong.
no, and I think that I can't really blame the children ever.
No, not at all.
Because I think they were placed in environments,
Mhm.
by us that, in terms of the emotional component,
Mhm.
made them softer.
Yeah, I agree. It was our fault. We did it to them.
I think so.
Absolutely.
I think so.
100%. I think we need to get back to teaching kids resilience and grittiness and toughness.
Well, we also gave them screens.
Well, that's
It is a
You're right.
technology bent there. We
Yeah,
gave them screens.
I agree. I 100%. I'm guilty of that, and
I am too.
I look back and wish like I wouldn't have given them as many screens as I have. But I'm still trying to teach them the right things, and but again, like that's the problem. Like, yeah, if we bring it back the full circle to technology, yeah, it is a big problem in society right now. It can be a huge benefit and a great thing to utilize in your career, in your life to enhance it, but it can also make it deteriorate very fast.
I look at it as I always have. I mean, I look at it the same now as I did rationally at the start of the web,
Mhm.
and even rationally growing up. That screen, regardless of the size, regardless of how fast the connection or what the inputs are, that screen is a tool.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's for entertainment.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's to get shit done.
Yeah.
But when that tool becomes a dependency,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that's kind of where we are now for
Yeah.
most humans.
I
maybe
agree.
me even included.
Yeah, I agree.
There's a level of dependency to the screen.
Yeah.
That has changed us as humans. It really has changed us. I'm sure there's studies doing a deep dive on how we're wired in our brains.
Oh,
I'm sure it's changed our brains. It's just, but when we've changed from using screens as a tool for the things we want, and now it's almost a dependency where it's actually dictating to us.
Yeah. I agree.
And we're giving into it.
We need to stop. We need to get back to interacting with one another, having face-to-face conversations, high-fiving people, hugging people, like doing cool shit like we used to. Like just go out, find a friend, have fun, like hug them, high-five them, like spread a little happiness in this world. That's what we need more of, man.
Before I get to the last point here, I want to talk about, if we can, I was thinking about during the pandemic, AA, the real, almost a requirement. I would say it's a requirement. I'm not a great study on AA, but I'm assuming from everything I know, there is a requirement for you to physically be there.
Yeah.
In that circle, showing accountability.
Yeah.
Whether you're speaking a little or you're speaking a lot, whether you're free, whether you feel comfortable talking or you don't, being there. They talk about just getting there.
Yeah.
The obstacle number one, just getting there.
Agreed.
And then if you were to take that physical presence away, I would venture to say that that whole program would not have the weight and the importance in our society for the lives it saved.
Yeah.
Without that physical, interpersonal relationship with those in that circle. How dependent it is for the physical attendance of that.
I completely agree. Completely agree with that. I mean, there, just think about like the physical presence, physical touch. Like I think there was a study I just read like a couple weeks ago that says a human being needs 8 hugs a day just to mentally survive, like just to be mentally stable. Like think about how much physical touching you need. I think it was 8 or 6, something like that. But there was a study that was conducted. Like that's the level of just to remain happy. Like that many physical touches a day. Like that's humans need that. And for 2 years we took that away. That's why people lost their shit.
Mm-hmm.
Like I lost my shit. Like I fucking hated it. Like I need to be around. I'm an extrovert. I need to be around people. And like that's human nature. We need that. Now some people introverts need it less, but they still need it, right? We need physical touch. We need physical connection. We need physical intimacy. These are fundamental human needs, and we've used technology, like you said, to become that wall, and that's done damage to a lot of people. And we need to try and fix that. I don't have a solution. All I can say is go out and try and connect with people in the real world and just have those
The
physical
world,
connections.
The physical world, for sure. And it's
or to abbreviate IRL, in real life. I just learned that a couple weeks ago.
Oh my God. So I read this great piece, and it was just talking in general about some mantras about communication and how they've changed over the years. And a couple of them struck me, and I want to read this to you.
Sure.
So it's old mantra versus modern mantra. The old mantra was that when you're speaking with people, facts have power. The right information articulated the correct way will be able to get people to act. That's kind of what I was taught growing up, right? But the more modern way of looking at it, I've been instructed, is that facts are fine, but we don't take them at face value.
Okay.
Tell me something that means something to me. That's the modern view of this. And I'm just kind of like, as a business person, like, what's your thoughts on that? Because I think it's right. I think that's where we're living today.
Yeah, I think. I think facts are subjective. That's the bigger piece in my mind. Well, I'm not saying I believe they are. I think people. But no, like but no, I will challenge you slightly on that because we've had this discussion before. Okay. What is that? What is absolute truth? Like 2 facts in this room right now, which are true to both of us but different to the other, is the door to the outside is on your right and my left. That's my absolute truth. The door's on the left. Your absolute truth. The door's on the right. Both are correct. Right. Which one is the fact?
It's viewpoint.
But the fact to you is the door is on my right hand side. That's a fact. My fact is the door's on my left hand side. That's a fact. The fact is there's a door in the room.
Correct.
But that's the fact. But what we are both saying is what people perceive facts to be. Most people are perceiving facts as viewpoints. Facts are the absolute. There's a door in the room. That's the only thing we can say that's absolutely true. There is a door to the outside in this room. The perspective of where it is just a viewpoint, but people are conflating the viewpoints with facts today. That's the problem.
I would agree with you 100%. The old mantra was everyone wants all the details. You can't leave anything out. I mean, that was kind of the tenets of good communication, right?
Okay.
Today, it's I don't have time for a lot of details unless I really care about the topic. Then I want to access all the information at my own leisure.
Okay. So
I mean, do you see the difference in those?
Well,
two?
Yes. I think these are 2 different. I think they're talking about 2 different things. That's why I think it's hard. So I want the details. You can't leave anything out. Okay. Yes. If I'm making a decision, cool. Like I may need the details. I need to make that decision. Maybe some of them. The second one is this is just talking about things I care about. Like if I care about it, I want to know about it. But if it doesn't matter to me, I don't need the details. So to me, I look at the first is everyone wants all the details. You can't leave anything else. I equate that as okay. If it's something I need to make a decision on or care about, yes, give me all the details. Right. But I think even back then, if I didn't give a shit about it, I don't need all the details. And that's what the second one in my mind says. It's like, I don't need the details unless I care about the topic. I don't care about climate change that much. So I don't really need all the details.
Touche.
I'm just saying, like, I don't.
There's no such thing as communicating too frequently. If people don't get it the first time, do it again. That's the old mantra.
Mm-hmm.
The new mantra. It seems like I'm constantly bombarded with tons of stuff on the same topic. Tell me about it when it really matters and when I need to do something about it.
See, again, I look at these as two different things,
Okay.
right? Because,
Okay.
I believe in the first one, there's no such thing as communicating too frequently. I will communicate as much as I can with the client, let them know where we stand.
Mm-hmm.
Second one is like, okay, there's all this information coming at me, right? Like,
So
I'm
practicing discernment then.
well, it's saying, tell me if it really matters, but if it really matters, I'm going to over communicate it to you because I want you to get it.
I agree.
That's how I look at that.
Okay, and the last one is a little convoluted, but I think I can make some heads or tails of it. People should pay attention because it's good for them. They should read because it makes them smarter. They should take the time to learn about a certain issue because it's important. And the pushback on that is, I'm smart enough to make my own decisions about what matters to me. I'm not going to waste my time because of some authority figure telling me what I should ingest.
Okay. I mean, I agree with both of those.
I kind of do too.
Because the first one is like that's just general. Like, yeah, you should do that stuff. You should learn more. You should read.
According to who, though?
According to just life. How about like we said, okay, pay attention. Okay, that means you should pay attention to your surroundings.
Okay,
read because it makes you smarter. That's just I feel like that's a fact, right? I mean, maybe not everything makes you smarter. Take the time to learn about a certain issue. Now the last one, okay, a certain issue because it's important. But to me, that's like if it's important to you or it matters to you, then yes, you should take your time to learn it. But it just because someone tells you it's important doesn't mean it's important. And that's where the second statement comes in. Like, I'm not going to waste my time because some authority figure tells me I should. I agree with that. Like, I'm not going to learn something just because you think I should. If I believe I should and I'm interested in it and I think it will benefit me, then yes, I will absolutely learn it. But just because you, Mr. Authority figure, say I need to know about climate change, do I? I don't give a shit. Sorry.
So that is interesting because I think the big change in that philosophy about being more intentional in what we're fascinated by came with the invention of the internet, where you had this thing called a search engine, where if you were curious about something, you would then take the effort upon yourself to go investigate and research the things that you dug, things that you were interested in. That was not readily available outside of dictionaries and encyclopedias and so forth, which were a little more laborious. Instead, those didn't have it, had to go to a library. But it was easier to be intentional about your curiosity. And I think that has not necessarily been a bad thing for humans. I think that the access to that information at a whim has been fantastic.
Yes, but it also, you have to be able to discern what information is valid and not. That's the other problem with the internet. There's so much information out there that is not valid, that you have to be intelligent enough to discern what is and is not.
Thus, the creation of the meme. And from there, the real.
Yeah.
And from there, our brain cells go down the tubes.
Listen, man. Yes, I hear you.
Good show, pal.
This was fun.
This is exactly how I wanted it to go. Procedurally. Of course, it went fantastic as usual.
Yeah.
And
we'll just keep getting better, man.
I really appreciate you doing this. This is and we've had quite a bit of folks on here jogging in and out. We greatly appreciate it.
Yeah. All the platforms. Love it.
Lots of platforms. We're still figuring it all out, but I think we're kind of in the right spot here.
Yeah, I may try and live stream it on Instagram next week with a little tripod or something.
I think we should
get
do
that.
Get
a little crazy.
I think we should do that. All right, we're back again, and we probably will release an announcement midweek as to what the topic's going to be. But right now, we're leaning toward emotional intelligence.
Yeah, that'll be a good one.
I could end up
feeling emotional about it.
It could be a cornucopia of discussion. But as always, thank you.
Yes.
I guess I'm pointing this way.
You got to point at these cameras today.
Right on. Thanks so much for tuning in, and we'll see you again next Tuesday at 7.
Yes.
Be there.